Q. What should I do if I wake up after 6,000 years of death and lose all my mana? Answer. Of course, it's relying on the identity of a senior to act recklessly, cheating the wine of the wind god, deceiving the rock god to pay the bill, deceiving the thunder god to become a thug. Chapter 1. See Language Master. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 2, please. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 3. Rising Winds and Clouds. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 4. Knights, Princesses, and Angels. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. Extraordinary Visitors. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Tonight is undoubtedly a sleepless night for the attendants and guards of Goranbia's mansion. Miss Qing Xian, who was honored as a guest of honor, disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The girl, who is ignorant and numb at all times, and numb and plain in everything she does, is considered a relatively easy to get along with boss in many people's minds, but it was tonight that Columbia got angry for the first time. The maidservant and the guards knelt on the ground in fear, burying their heads very low. Goranbia stood by the window with her back to them, her deep eyes staring into the distance through the hollow mask. This is an exquisitely decorated and luxurious bedroom full of exotic charm, and it's not an exaggeration to say it's a collection room with a bed. And these were all personally arranged by Goranbia, with the decorations set according to the person's preferences in memory. Even Pantaron couldn't help but complain about this expense bill, which shows how much she values the owner of the room. I just left for a while, where are people going? I'm such a big living person, and if I don't see them, I'll disappear. Are you all just decorations? Yes, it was my subordinate's momentary negligence. Please punish the young girl adult. The maidservant answered with fear and regret in her heart. She just went to pick up a dim sum. Why did the lovely lady disappear? When she returned again, she only saw the open window. You know, this is the 3rd floor. The ability of such a big child to run out on her own was specified as being kidnapped by someone. Has the person been found? I have sent everyone out to secretly search for that young lady as per your instructions, but there is no clue yet. The voice of the guard soldiers was getting quieter and quieter. Although there was a tendency to fish at work, he saw how much attention that young girl adult had towards that child. How could he dare to slack off? When the maid reported this thunderous news to him, he had already arranged for someone to go out and search for him, but he never found anything. Let's step back. The maid and soldier saw that Goranbia was no longer speaking, looked at each other, and wisely closed their mouths and retreated. Upon hearing the sound of the door closing behind her, Goranbia closed the window and sat on the sofa beside her, exhausted both physically and mentally. Sigh. Next to the sofa is a small round table full of various dim sum. Glancing at these dim sum, she glanced around the room carelessly, humming it's really more gorgeous than her room. After hesitating for a while, she picked up a piece of chocolate and took a bite. The taste is not bad. I have never enjoyed it so much, and I don't want to snub you. I have no conscience, and I have to run away. Looking at the table of sweet dim sum, Columbia murmured in frustration. Looking out the window again, even though her memory had blurred, she still remembered that it seemed like such a tumultuous night when they first met. In ancient stories, fairies were a great race with wisdom and beauty that did not belong to the earth. They walk with humanity, teaching human language and natural philosophy, which is their responsibility and mission. Of course, Goranbia also carried such a mission, but at that time she was not as outstanding as other tribes. She could guide a kingdom as great as other individual fairies, and could only handle some trivial matters alone. For example, There may be reminders to humans about which two foods can only be consumed together, Your Excellency. If it really doesn't work out, let's just let it go. We can explore it ourselves, really. You don't need to search anymore. In a remote small mountain village, the elderly village chief looked at Goranbia, who was constantly searching for a book, and couldn't help but feel a little heartbroken. Because no matter how you look at this envoy, he is just a child, perhaps just as old as his little granddaughter. Seeing such a big girl crying anxiously, the old village chief couldn't help but urge her, and even lowered her voice for a moment, afraid of scaring the little envoy. Hey! Although the old village chief was already very kind and amiable, the young brother Lunbia was still startled. This comforting words didn't sound the same to her, and she was worried that she might not be needed anymore. As a divine envoy, I failed to solve human problems and was instead driven away. This is undoubtedly the most shameful. I'll be able to solve your needs soon. Give me some time, really fast. The old village chief couldn't say anything when he saw the situation. It was unknown how long it had been, but little brother Lenbia couldn't find a way to solve the problem. In the end, the knowledge they were craving was finally solved by another fairy who hurriedly arrived. In the quiet forest, little brother Lenbia set up a temporary small campsite. She curled up next to the bonfire, looking at the swaying fireworks with a heavy heart. When can I be on my own? Although it only involves some botanical issues, I couldn't come up with a solution myself. Wow, I don't have the face to go back to the temple. Although the senior who arrived did not blame her for her mistake, she still felt guilty for not being able to complete the task. Not being able to complete the assigned mission was not the first time. Is she really a competent fairy? In a daze, the little brother Lenbia remembered that humans would pray to the gods to fulfill their wishes, and then they would appear as messengers to guide humanity. But if even the gods themselves are troubled, to whom can they pray? Perhaps with a give it a try mentality, or seeking psychological self-comfort. She clumsily learned the way humans pray and made her own wishes in her heart. When she opened her eyes again, little brother Lenbia saw a shooting star in the sky. Did this mean her wish was answered? No, no. Why is this meteor getting closer and closer? It seems to be falling in her direction. But it was too late to dodge. After panicking for a second, the little brother Lenbia closed her eyes and took a deep breath, then calmly stood in place and opened her eyes to look directly at the approaching fireball. It's not because she has any countermeasures, she just feels that being beaten to death like this is more dignified. But the fairy who was smashed to death seems to have enough shame. Boom! In an instant, dust was flying and the little brother Lunbia struggled to get up from the ground. She didn't die. Oh, she remembered that moment when the meteor seemed to fly over her, and then the falling shockwave lifted her out. After patting her non-existent chest, little brother Lunbia felt fortunate that her life was tough enough, as if she had always had good luck. She could have survived if it weren't for the destruction of the world. Although she survived, the little brother Lunbia was still choked by the dust lifted up and coughed straight. It took a while for her to recover from the brief deafness caused by tinnitus. After a brief physical examination, it was confirmed that there were only some bumps and abrasions, and the little brother Lenbia looked behind her. The dense forest behind her seemed to have been cut horizontally by a huge saw. The nearby trees that were not sawn were burnt to the point where they were not well suited to the surrounding environment. The most eye-catching thing was the scattered metal fragments along the way. She wasn't a meteor, although she hadn't seen the full picture yet, she could confirm with these fragments alone that they were part of a spaceship called Forbidden Knowledge. But shouldn't these not be granted? And now, human technology trees are not even enough to make metal for spacecraft. Is it someone from outside the world? Is my luck so good? After looking at the changing geographical environment around her, little brother Lenbia felt like she was just a scratch. This is a bit lucky and unrealistic. It is indeed better to report on the occurrence of such disasters after surveying the site. Otherwise, it will cause trouble to the surrounding villagers, right? The sudden rain in the dark dense forest blurred the sight of little brother Lenbia, whether it was caused by the rising airflow brought by the burning spaceship. After arriving at the scene, Goranbia felt that the scene could not even be described as tragic. Among the scattered wreckage, the only thing that could be distinguished was a half-concave metal sphere. It's really a spaceship. But even if there are people inside, there's no chance of rescue, right? Touch. Hey. Goranbia, who was about to inspect the scene, was startled by the sudden noise and took a step back. It was coming from a metal ball. This is actually still alive. Shouldn't it be some kind of monster? But if it were a person, maybe there could be some rescue. Touch it. Hey. This thing looks so fierce, why don't we just forget it? Just pretend you don't know anything and haven't seen anything, just sneak away. The determination that had just come up disappeared immediately, and I had planned to leave like this. No, I had already quietly withdrawn several steps. But at the same time, Goranbia unexpectedly heard the weak voice of someone inside the metal ball. Cough cough. You're really playing dirty, little brat. It's over. Surprisingly, it still got infected. What kind of world is this forced landing to? Damn it, I can't break through this door. It seems that we shouldn't bargain so hard next time. It must be an unscrupulous merchant who gave us a defective product. In the squeezed non-spherical escape capsule, Qing Xian weakly knocked on the sunken and stuck door. Her surroundings were pitch black, with only damaged instruments flickering red like potato servers from time to time. And the unknown virus is eroding every corner of her body. Without a doubt she has been pushed into a desperate situation. No wonder those bereaved dogs, on the brink of death, show a sense of accomplishment when their mission is completed. I often play fake death, but there are indeed problems. Haha. This time. Cough, I'm afraid I really need to explain it here. The eerie patterns had already climbed up her neck, and through the broken display screen, she looked at her embarrassed reflection in the lens. Qing Xian laughed self-deprecatingly. Is it actually collapse disease? He's such a coward who kills still needs to have his heart executed in this way. Her consciousness gradually sank into endless darkness. Chapter 6. Sleepless Nights. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. Meteorites. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 8. The price is too high. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 9. The Ring of the Moon. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 10. All Hearts Written on the Face. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After listening to the story told by Pierre, Qing Xian learned that the surviving children had unfortunately fallen ill. Although everyone's symptoms may vary, a strange and ominous force is detected in their bodies. Isn't it actually a direct death? It doesn't seem like the collapse disease in my impression, but the situation doesn't seem optimistic either. Is this person just a doctor who happened to meet me? Looking at her reflection in the cup, Qing Xian felt mixed emotions. She can't believe the man in front of her yet. I understand what your purpose is now. Do you want to ask me if there are any drugs or methods to treat this situation? Unfortunately, I don't have much knowledge in this area, and even if I only know one drug, it may not be useful. Upon hearing that the other party really had a solution, Pierre was so excited that he couldn't speak. He has been running around for years seeking education without a trace, and seeking the help of his immediate supervisor, the doctor, only received an excuse. A group of useless people, not worth wasting my time. If there is really a way to treat those victims, he will not complain at any cost. Can we finally make up for the crimes we committed in the past? What method is it? I said it was just speculation, I cannot guarantee its feasibility. Even if it's a 1 in 10,000 chance, I must try. Looking up and down at Peel, Qing Xian felt that this man was quite kind and kind-hearted. Suddenly, she couldn't bear to hit him. You wouldn't want to know, the reality is cruel, this medicine is too precious. Is it expensive? Do I need to pay more in exchange for the method of making the medicine? Or do I need to do something? As long as you can tell me the method of making that medicine, I promise everything. Do you think I'm short of money now? You're a smart person, why don't you understand that I'm saying this medication is too precious? Touch. How can human life be measured by price? Peel stood up with a clap, and the table shook violently, spilling the hot black tea from the cup. The fools and soldiers around pulled out their weapons and aimed at him, while Qing Xian, who was sitting opposite him, was also called to protect Catherine's doll behind him. Please pay attention to your words and actions, Mr. Peel. It's okay, Catherine. Grasping Catherine's hand, Qing Xian calmly scrutinized Pierre's uncontrollable anger, her deep eyes staring at Pierre with a hint of hair. Because it was a childlike pity, yet disdainful gaze. Put away all your weapons, there's no need to be tense. And since this gentleman wants to know so much, I can tell you. I have been to a place where a similar situation happened, and the situation was very tragic. The medical team there worked tirelessly to discover antibody drugs. And that kind of antibody drug needs to come from the patient's body serum. Statistically speaking, extracting serum to treat a person requires about 1,000 patients' bodies. Of course, I said this is just a similar situation, what you said is far from so dangerous, maybe only 100. Of course maybe these two situations are completely different, and this may not be useful. What? Pierre sat limply in the chair, completely ignoring what Qing Xian said later. He didn't doubt the feasibility of this plan, it's better to say he should have thought about it long ago. Because the most important component of the inhibitor he developed is actually antibodies extracted from the bodies of deceased patients. Is it difficult for you to know this way with your expression? So, I've told you what you want to know. It seems you need some time to calm down, I'll leave. Upon hearing that the other party was about to leave, Pierre forced himself to calm down and discovered a new problem, so he reluctantly pursued it. Wait. So, did you actually use a method? Although the recovery was minimal, you did. You couldn't have obtained that serum. And why did you help that child? I have no choice, and even I was not clear about these things at first. It was just a coincidence that led to the situation you mentioned, so don't ask too much. As for why you helped her, there's no reason, that child is very kind and interesting. The communication process made me very happy, so I gave a bit in return. And the second question I also want to ask you. Dr. Peel, don't you think you're too concerned about that incident? Leaving this sentence behind, Qing Xian left without looking back. After a while, Luan hurriedly came in to find Pierre. Seeing Pierre's dejected appearance, he couldn't help but feel a little worried. Mr. Peel, you seem to need a break. It's done. The little nightingale instructed me to act low-key. What a big stir this whole thing is going to cause now. The itinerary has been completely disrupted. After returning home, Qing Xian Guyu lay on the sofa, with all her worries written on her face. Catherine, what's the origin of that person named Peel? You happen to be on the scene, and I want to know everything about that person and the incident. This. Catherine was a bit difficult to handle because the young lady had already told her beforehand that she didn't want this young lady to get involved in these disputes. Of course, even Catherine herself did not want such a lovely girl to enter the vat of fools. But Catherine found that today's young lady was particularly dominant. She was just two people from an ordinary young lady. If Miss really joins the group of fools, it will definitely be a great help to Her Royal Highness when she grows up, right? I always feel like I will become someone who changes the world in the future, Catherine. I'm sorry, miss. It's better for you not to participate in it. Is that so? I understand. It is not difficult to see that Catherine has an unspoken secret. Qin Xian guessed that it was the order given by Garenbia. Speaking of which, it seems that she only has a preliminary understanding of what kind of organization the fools are and what the world is like today. Gorenbia seems to have always been a state she never mentions without asking. After looking at this luxurious room, Qin Xian thought of something and smiled. Pui, how weak do I have to be in your eyes? Raising me like a canary. It seems like I still have some grudges. I didn't go too far when I used to do things to you and reuse them on me. You can go down too, Catherine. I'm a bit tired and plan to take a break. Oh. Remember to tell me when Sister Columbia comes back, I miss her. Understood, miss, I will definitely reach it.